Our movie starts with a guy named Tim rummaging through boxes looking for something, and the room's a complete mess because he and his girlfriend Millie are about to move to the countryside after she got a job offer there as a teacher. He comes across an old photo of him and Millie, and it stirs up all the longing, nostalgia, and excitement they once had in the early days, making it clear that things aren't quite the same anymore. Millie walks in and tells him to come downstairs to join the farewell party with their friends, and he goes over to his buddies while Millie sits with her friend, telling her about the teaching job she got there. Her friend tells her, "Girl, forget about this guy. He doesn't seem to love you like he used to. Find someone else over there." But Millie refuses and says that once they move to the countryside, their relationship will go back to how it used to be, maybe even better. On the other side, Tim is sitting with his friend and Millie's brother, talking about Tim's new album that's coming out soon. Turns out he's a rock singer, but a bit of a bad luck magnet, and he's hoping this time the album will be a success. He's planning to make it on his own without the record company that used to produce his songs, but his friends try to convince him to go back to the company, saying they also need someone to play guitar. Tim says he'll be the one to play guitar, but they tell him there will be a lot of rehearsals, and the distance from the countryside is pretty far. He reassures them he'll practice on his own, and that Millie can drive him to the gigs in her car since he doesn't even know how to drive. Millie interrupts them, calling Tim over, and he steps in to say a few nice words to his friends about how he'll miss them, ending by saying he's happy to be with Millie and proud of her. He's expecting applause or some kind of emotional reaction, but instead finds them all looking shocked. He turns around to see what they're staring at, and there's Millie, down on one knee, proposing to him. And this isn't some daydream. She's actually proposing for real. Tim gets flustered and embarrassed by what she's done, wishing the ground would just open up and swallow him whole. And from all the embarrassment, he doesn't even know how to respond. So Millie feels awkward and gets up off the floor, but he tries to save the moment so it doesn't ruin things, and tells her he's saying yes. That night, they arrive in the countryside and are about to sleep when Tim tries to apologize for what happened earlier, telling her he was nervous and didn't know what to do. But she's upset and tells him to save his words because it's better if they just break up now. He tells her he loves her and doesn't want to lose her, but she says that's not love, that he's just gotten used to her because they've been together for years. He insists he still truly loves her, manages to make up with her, and they go to sleep. A little later, he hears Millie talking in her sleep, telling him to make these people leave because she can't sleep with them staring at her. When he looks to see what she means, he finds his mother sitting right in front of him, looking terrifying and crying, with his father lying beside her, their beds pushed together. Scared, he hides under the blanket, and suddenly she's right in his face, jolting him awake. He heads outside the house and finds Millie unloading boxes from the moving truck, so he carries them inside. As he opens the boxes, he finds a chainsaw, planning to use it to fix the windows, but seeing how sharp it is makes him too nervous to use it. Suddenly, he smells something awful and asks Millie if she smells what he smells. She says she's in the bathroom, so he assumes she means the smell is coming from her, but then realizes it's coming from the ceiling above the chandelier. He takes it down, and the stench gets stronger, so he holds his breath and reaches inside, finding a bunch of dead rats, one of them still alive. He quickly takes them out to throw them away. Millie is shocked and asks how he found them, but he doesn't answer. The next day, Millie is at school for her first day, sipping a mug of coffee to wake herself up, when a teacher named Carol comes up to her and says that mug belongs to her. Millie apologizes, saying she didn't know, and then a guy named Jimmy steps in to save her from the awkward moment, later telling her that Carol gets really annoyed when someone takes her things. He stops to introduce himself, telling her he's glad she agreed to come work here, even though she had been at a big, fancy school before. She tells him she wanted to help the kids here and focus more on their education. He asks if she's living alone, and she tells him she's with her boyfriend. Then, when he hears the address, it turns out he's her neighbor, living in the house right next to theirs. Anyway, the class schedule starts, so he leaves her and heads to his lesson. That night, Tim is practicing for his gig when Millie comes in and asks if the internet's been set up yet. He tells her the guy will come next week and then asks if she'll be able to get him to the gig on Thursday. She says she'll drop him at the train station and he can take it from there. He suggests they go for a walk tomorrow, and the next morning, they actually head out to explore the forest, but they quickly feel like it's too small. So he looks for a path that will take them deeper in and finds one lined with bells hanging everywhere. He tells Millie they should go that way, saying the weather's nice, they'll walk a bit, then come right back. She goes along, but suddenly it starts pouring down rain, and they get lost. She says, "I wish I hadn't listened to you. Since you got us in here, you get us out." So he pulls out his phone and opens a compass app, but he doesn't even know how to use it. He says they should head north, but she wants to stay put so they don't get more lost. He ignores her and keeps walking, not paying attention, and suddenly he falls into a hole. Millie comes over to pull him out, but he's too heavy for her, and they both end up falling in. When he looks for his phone, it's gone, and when she tries calling it, there's no signal. He gets frustrated because his phone has important stuff for the gig, and she gets upset that instead of checking if she's okay, he's asking about his phone. They look around at the strange place they've fallen into. It's full of bells like the ones they saw earlier on the path. She's scared and tells him they should try to climb out quickly, but he says it's raining and they can't, so they're forced to wait it out until the rain stops. Tim lights his lighter and starts breaking up some wood to make a fire, and Millie is surprised he even has a lighter since he's supposedly not a smoker. He tries to dodge the question, telling her this isn't the time to talk about it. There's an echo in the place, so they realize it's huge. Millie tells him she's really thirsty, and when he pulls out the bottle he has, there's only a little left in it. He notices a puddle of water nearby, so he gives her the bottle and goes to drink straight from the puddle himself. And not only that, he even fills the bottle from it. This, you could say, might be the start of their troubles. She asks him again why he had a lighter, and he gets flustered, unable to answer. They both end up drinking anyway, keeping their eyes averted from each other. Then, she asks how he found those rats. He looks like he's remembering something unpleasant and tells her that when he was a kid, his dad once told him his room smelled bad and told him to clean it up or take a shower. He cleaned it. But the next day, his dad said the smell was still there, and the same thing happened the day after. But this time, his dad was really irritated and started looking for the source of the smell before going to work. When he came back, he was holding a dead rat he'd found in Tim's room. It was the reason for the smell, and it had even built a nest above the chandelier. Every time the chandelier was turned on, it would heat up and make the smell worse and worse. Millie is shocked by the strange story, since he's never told her before. He says he'd forgotten it until he saw the rats, and then he tells her there's something else he's never told her, how he once smelled that exact same smell coming from his parents' bedroom. He says he couldn't even breathe from it, and when he went closer and opened the door, he found his mother smiling at him in a terrifying way, with his father lying dead beside her. She hadn't processed that he died and kept living next to him as if he were still alive until she lost her mind completely. Tim breaks down remembering it, and Millie feels bad for him. They go to sleep, but later he wakes up unable to breathe, feeling like the air is closing in around him with every breath. He looks over and sees Millie's face twisted into something terrifying. Then suddenly he wakes up, realizing it was all just a dream. Millie finds his phone soaked with water, and when they try to get up, they're shocked to discover their legs are stuck together. At first, Tim thinks she's joking, but they're both stunned when they realize their legs are literally glued to each other. Tim assumes it's some kind of mold, and they try to separate their legs gently. The strange thing is that they find all their belongings stuck together with the same substance. They struggle to climb out of the hole, but after a lot of effort, they manage to get out, only to see their legs scraped and bruised where they'd been stuck. Back at the house, Millie puts her phone in some rice to try to dry it out, then asks Tim to give her a massage because sleeping in the hole hurt her back. As he massages her, he suddenly feels something strange, almost like his hands are about to sink into her body. He snaps out of it, and Millie yells at him. He apologizes, saying he's just exhausted and wants to lie down for a bit. She leaves to get food, and he heads to the shower. As soon as Millie drives off, he starts feeling strange sensations again, and when he regains focus, he's confused about what just happened. Deciding to get checked out, he visits a doctor who suspects it could be hereditary since Tim's mother was mentally ill. Tim explains that he'd done tests back when it all happened and confirmed he's not like her. The doctor tells him what he's been through isn't easy, and that when he's alone, he might experience some anxiety, which could trigger panic attacks. He prescribes medication to help his body relax if it happens again. When the doctor hears where Tim lives, he tells him he's lucky to still be alive because a married couple disappeared there before, and the police had searched everywhere without finding them. Back home, Tim looks up the missing couple and finds their names: Carrie and Simon, along with their photo. Feeling uneasy, he opens Carrie's profile just as Millie walks in, asking if he's ready to travel tomorrow for the gig. She sees the screen and assumes he's looking at pictures of other women. "You're checking out girls while I'm right here, you cheater," she says. He tells her she's got it wrong. It's a picture of a woman and her husband who vanished here. He then adds, "When I die, delete all my accounts so people don't go snooping through my photos." And suddenly, they hear someone knocking at the door. Millie goes to open it and finds Jimmy standing there, coming over to say hi. Tim comes in and gets introduced to him, and Millie insists that he come in and sit with them. Tim was jealous and about to explode with anger, feeling like Jimmy was flirting with her. Millie starts telling him about when they fell into the pit, and Tim says he felt something strange, saying the pit was kind of like a church. Jimmy tells him there actually used to be a church in that spot a long time ago, but everyone in it disappeared little by little. Later, the church collapsed because of the weather. They keep chatting for a bit about their lives, like who does the cooking, who cleans, that kind of stuff. After a while, Jimmy leaves, saying goodbye to Tim and hugging Millie, which really annoys Tim. After closing the door, Tim tells her Jimmy has such an annoying vibe, plus he feels like Jimmy likes her. But Millie didn't buy what he was saying. When Tim moves closer to her, their bodies end up sticking together, so he quickly pulls away. Millie thought it was for some other reason, but he tells her strange things have been happening ever since they came here. She doesn't believe him, and they argue. That night, while they're sleeping, Millie feels Tim stepping on her hair in his sleep. She tells him to move away a bit, but he steps down harder. When she turns to push him off, she's shocked to see him actually chewing her hair. She yells at him and tries to pull away. Tim snaps out of it and forcefully removes her hair from his mouth. The next day, Tim gets ready to head into the city for the concert, but Millie brings up last night again. He gets annoyed and tells her he wasn't conscious at the time and that he already told her strange things are happening in the house. After she drops him off, she tells him not to come back that night, and he agrees, waiting for the train. But as soon as Millie's car drives off, he starts feeling that same sensation again. He can't breathe and desperately wants to get back to her. He takes his medication, but the feeling still won't go away. When the train arrives, he leaves his stuff behind and runs back to Millie. Meanwhile, Millie is at school during break, chatting with her friend and telling her what happened. She's shocked when she suddenly sees Tim standing in the schoolyard. So she hangs up the call and quickly rushes over, taking him to the bathroom before he causes any trouble. She asks him, "What are you doing here? Weren't you supposed to be traveling?" He tells her he missed her and just felt like he had to see her right now. When he gets close to her, he sticks to her like every other time he's approached her in that strange way. They hear someone coming into the bathroom, so they go quiet so no one notices them, and she quickly hides him. She steps out and sees Jimmy with a little boy, realizing she accidentally walked into the men's bathroom. Jimmy tells her to be more careful next time, but before he leaves, he spots Tim's leg and realizes he's there, though he doesn't say anything. She takes Tim home, but they keep arguing. She tells him that showing up like that could get her fired from her job. He apologizes, saying he didn't mean to, but when she keeps pushing and hurting him with her words, he tells her he left his whole life behind to come here so they could get close again, like before. She tells him to leave, that she doesn't want him anymore. He refuses, telling her he doesn't know how to stay away from her. Every time he's apart from her, he feels something strange, like he can't breathe, like his mind is clouded. She leaves him and goes to smooth things over with Jimmy, apologizing. Jimmy lets her in, gives her a glass of water, and they start talking. He tells her about an ancient Greek legend written by Plato that everyone is searching for their missing half, the part of them that completes and loves them. He tells her Tim completes her and warns her not to be too quick to let him go. Millie notices Jimmy wearing 2 rings, and he explains that he was married before. At that moment, she sees Tim standing outside, and she gets flustered and leaves. He walks beside her, keeps apologizing, and tells her he didn't know where else to go. He takes her hand, and they walk together. But here's the thing. This time, she had started to feel drawn to Tim again, almost in a dazed way, just like Tim himself felt, and we'll understand why later. That night, Tim is sitting alone, looking at Carrie's account, and discovers that the last picture she and her husband took before disappearing was in the same place where he and Millie fell into the pit. He zooms in on the photo and sees the church bell behind them. Then the internet cuts out, and suddenly he hears someone pounding hard on the door. He keeps getting closer, trying to see who's banging on the glass like that. The moment he opens it, he finds Millie. He tries to bring her to her senses, and she's shocked by what just happened. But Millie insists it's just some kind of episode that happens every once in a while. She doesn't believe him when he tells her the pit is the cause, and that the 2 people who disappeared had been in the same pit. When she still won't believe him, he tells her to raise her hand and touch his, and their hands stick together. She gets angry and tells him he's lost his mind, calling him crazy, and tells him to sleep in the guest room. Right as he tells her to stand up, she finds herself standing without even realizing it, and he tells her, "Isn't that strange? You have to believe me." She tells him her parents are coming over for lunch in a few days, and she doesn't want him around then, basically politely kicking him out. They go to bed, each in separate rooms. A little later, Tim wakes up and finds himself being pulled toward her room as if something is dragging him against his will. At the same time, Millie's bedroom door opens, and she's being pulled toward him without realizing it. Tim tells her to fight it, to keep herself from coming near him, but she can't. They approach each other and touch hands, and this time, their hands don't just stick together. They merge, becoming like one single hand. They try to stop it, but it's no use. Tim tells her to open the drawer and grab the medicine quickly. They keep trying to pull apart until they both pass out. The next morning, Tim wakes up to find Millie taping their hands together with adhesive, their skin still fused. She plans to grab a saw to separate them, and of course, Tim refuses. But unfortunately, he's forced to agree when they realize their hands are fusing even more. She does it just in time before it's too late. After treating their hands, they sit down for breakfast like nothing happened. Millie remembers she left her car keys at Jimmy's place and goes to get them, warning Tim not to move from where he is. He promises he won't, but the moment she leaves, he runs to grab a flashlight and rope and heads straight for the pit. Meanwhile, Millie arrives at Jimmy's house and finds the door open with no one inside. She goes in to grab the keys. But she finds the TV on and sees Jimmy inside the church. Behind him, there's a painting of two people fused together. Then she sees him performing some kind of ritual in the church, a ritual meant to merge with someone. Part of the ritual involves drinking water from a pit, the same pit that Tim and Millie drank from. Now you might say, but Millie didn't drink from it. Well, Jimmy gave her the water when she visited his place. You just didn't catch it. That's why she was acting the way she was afterward. She realizes he's behind all of this. When Jimmy walks in on her, she warns him to stay away. He tells her that everyone is scared at first, but later they're overjoyed because they'll be fused with the ones they love forever. He strikes her on the hands and cuts her, the beginning of the ritual. She fights back and runs. And here's the big shock, my friend. Jimmy isn't even one person. He's actually two people. Meanwhile, Tim reaches the pit. When he enters, he sees faces stuck to the ceiling, and he also sees the same painting, realizing the whole truth. Suddenly, something grabs his legs. Two people fused together crawl toward him. They're holding a knife embedded in their own bodies, and it's clear they were trying to end it, but couldn't. Tim takes the knife, finishes them off, and runs. He meets Millie, but they don't touch to avoid sticking together. Both now know the truth. Still, they find themselves being pulled toward each other against their will, grabbing onto anything nearby to resist. Tim says he knows the solution. He moves closer, drops to one knee, and proposes without a ring, saying a few sweet words. Then he stands and tells her to trust him and close her eyes. She's confused, and suddenly, he pulls out the knife, intending to end this and save her. But he sees she's already bleeding, and she collapses, looking like she might die. After a while, she wakes up and realizes Tim couldn't bear the thought of losing her and living without her. They decide they'd rather merge together than be apart forever. Tim plays her favorite song, the one that was supposed to be their first dance at the wedding, and they start dancing together, slowly sticking to each other bit by bit until they fully merge into one. Their last joint post online is a photo of them in the countryside, just like the couples before them. A few days later, we see Millie's family arriving for lunch. They knock on the door, which now has the church bell hanging on it. And here's the shock. When the door opens, we see someone who looks like Millie and Tim, but it's not their child or anything. It's actually them after they've fused together into one person. And that's the end of this strange, bizarre movie. Let me know in the comments, if you had the chance to merge with the person you love so neither of you would ever lose the other, would you do it or not? This movie recap was entirely summarized, recorded, and edited by me. Stay safe, my dear viewers. I love you all. Goodbye.